This week on the Orange Box podcast, we talk about more PlayStation games coming to Xbox and Switch 2, Xbox releasing more unannounced cross platform games next year, Nintendo doing another Direct tomorrow, and more. All of this tonight, but first, on to that beautiful bean intro. Welcome to the place where PC and console gaming talk combine. This is the Orange Box Podcast, episode 95. I am your host, the man who has been right more than Colin Moriarty, which is not saying much, Nathan, also known as the Frozen Gamer 87. And joining me, as always, the man who insists that the PlayStation titles coming to other consoles are just for games, Justin, better known as I am Zaracon. How you doing today? How's your week been?
It's been pretty good. So I saw there was a sale for a controller. It's called a Digibyte Vader Pro 4, and it's sort of like, I guess for lack of better words, an Xbox designed controller, or at least it's designed sort of like the Xbox Elite controller. And I mean, here's sort of like what it looks like here.
Oh,
blurred
okay.
here. But yeah, it's got special designs. Like you can customize how tight or loose you want the joysticks. You can it's got back paddles, which I'm not really a fan of the design of these back paddles, just because of the fact that, unlike say with the Steam Deck where you have the buttons one on top of the other, they're sort of like left and right. So you have to get closer to the other set of buttons, which I'm not really a fan of. I mean, I could grow into it, but I'm just not really a fan of that. And interesting enough, this one is designed for PC, mobile, and Nintendo Switch. Not sure why it isn't compatible, say, with PlayStation and Xbox, but they just designed it that way. I've been playing it. I've been using it a little bit here and there, and it's pretty good, I'd say, which unfortunately, and this is something that I realized when I was trying to use this controller, as well as later on trying to use my Xbox controller, is that I guess when I reinstalled Linux, whatever I did or had set that allowed me to use the controllers via Bluetooth don't work anymore. So I have to use all those controllers wired, or I just have to use my DualSense controller with Bluetooth until I can figure out what's going on with that. But there is that, and I guess later on, I was going to try to work on some music stuff on Sunday, but as well as doing some gaming stuff. But my niece and nephew, they called and they decided that they wanted to come over, and so after begging to my sister and I to say, can we please come over and spend time? And they came over, spent the night, and we had a good time. They had a very good time, and whatnot. But we did some stuff together, played some stuff with Legos, and then later on they went to play some games. They first played some stuff on my PC, then they wanted to play on my GameCube, so did that. And they had a blast with that. And then yesterday I went over to a buddy of mine's to hang out, but also to do some stuff with his PC. For example, I didn't check, or at least I didn't do what I needed to do for his secondary SSD on his computer that I installed, so I had to go back in and properly format that so it would be detected by the computer. And then also he had some questions about the RGB settings, so I was trying to work on that. Showed him how to do some basic modding, or at least just a small, I guess you could say, tutorial on how to like set up mods. And then also installed some RAM for him, and we also did a little bit of gaming after all was said and done. But then, and then as is my normal fashion, because we normally hang out all night long, I had the day off today, so I just slept in, and then tried to do what I couldn't do on Sunday because I was with the twins. But yeah, that's pretty much everything in a nutshell.
Good stuff. Well, my week has been different than usual for sure. Big thing, most of all, is that my kids were at have been at VBS basically every evening since Sunday. Well, every evening since Sunday. So we've had a couple hours of just a quiet house. It's been really weird, these past several nights, and we decided to take advantage of it and the fact that we had done a 1 month thing for Netflix again, just because. Well, I'll get back to that, but since we had done a 1 month thing of for Netflix, we decided, okay, well, we'll finally watch season 4 of Stranger Things because we hadn't seen it yet, and so we've been working through that, and we're on episode 7, and there's 9 episodes for the season, so we had to stop in the middle of it before my wife went to go get the kids, and since this is the last night, they're gonna be staying a bit later, playing some more. So after all that is done, then they'll come back. But the reason we decided to get a 1 month thing with Netflix, because I don't think they do free trials anymore, is that Happy Gilmore 2 came out, and it's Netflix exclusive, and we wanted to see it because it looked pretty good, and it was actually amazing. It was, if you enjoyed the first Happy Gilmore, the second one is it's a perfect sequel. It's as good as you can possibly get. It's set, of course, 30 years after, because the original, or well, I guess technically 29 years after, but the original movie came out in 96, and so it basically just kind of gives a recap of everything that's happened in the past almost 30 years, and it's just, yeah, it was really great. Really, really great. I'm very glad we gave that a chance. And like I said, that also has given us a chance to watch the most recent season of Stranger Things. And sometime, probably over the weekend, we'll end up watching the last Venom movie, because we haven't seen that yet. And it is up on Netflix. So it's okay, perfect. That makes it even more worth it, because we've been wanting to watch that for a while anyway. So, but yeah, so more than anything, it's just been, we've had a lot of extra time because because of that. So as a result, I didn't play games nearly as much, but we did get, a lot of time to just hang out and mostly just watching stuff. But it's also been nice having all of that. So yeah, good stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else out of the ordinary. It's probably something I'm forgetting, but those have been the main things. It's just work and all that stuff. Oh, I went to the office Tuesday, Wednesday this week because I ordered our split AC unit for the garage, and that is arriving tomorrow. So I already did my days in the office this week, so it'll be arriving sometime tomorrow, and then we just need to get in touch with the guy who can do the installation and get that all sorted out. I'm not expecting it to be right away, but I'll at least get the contact information and get in touch with them and see what we can do. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. And it's funny that you mentioned, because I had been hearing about Happy Gilmore 2, people were talking about it, and I didn't know that it was Netflix exclusive. I thought it was something that was being shown in theaters, but I didn't know that was just exclusive. So yeah, I'm glad that people are definitely enjoying it. I haven't seen the first one, but people said that it was good.
Well, watch the first one when you get a chance. It's not a super long movie. It's hilarious. It still holds up really, really well. Yeah, it's one of the few early Adam Sandler movies that I really enjoy. I mean, there's a couple of jokes that are but most of it is just really, really funny. And the second one is, like I said, basically a perfect sequel. So yeah, good stuff. And what was also kind of cool is that his daughters both got to play in the roles in the movie, one of which was actually playing his daughter. So it's hey, that's cool. But yeah. So good stuff. Well, I saw one of the games that you've been playing this week, and I definitely want to hear about it. But uh, I, you could just go ahead and tell me what you've been playing this week.
Yeah, so I don't really have too much to say. Played a little bit of Stardew Valley, as I said, with my niece and nephew. We did some stuff there. Didn't do too much with that, but we did some stuff there. I guess you could say mainly was Death Stranding. I don't know why, but I just had an urge to play the game and just to try it out. And I don't think it has necessarily anything to do with the second one because it's been out for a while, but I just thought, you know what, I should boot this up. So I installed it, got it running, and I mean, the game runs very well. I mean, the game is definitely very beautiful. It looks great, running very well. I'm getting it running it at virtually high on everything. 1080p, on average, 130 frames per second. Definitely good. I haven't gotten too far into the game though. I got right after I completed the prologue, and I'm in the first chapter where after you take the one item to get burned, and then that's when you start getting surrounded by BTs. And now, one thing I will say that is a bit odd, and I'm not certain what this is, and I have to look into this, is that for some reason the game, or at least the game won't override my screen or my power saving settings, so my screen will will turn off and shut down. And so I'm not certain why it's that way, but I've just noticed this whenever I'm in a cutscene long enough that my screen will lock, and I'm like, whoa, wait a second, what's going on here? And so I have to quickly just hit the keyboard a few times before it comes back on. I think I'll definitely have to play some more because not too much has happened gameplay wise. I mean, of course, just
right,
traversing the area. It's the controls for moving around are interesting just because of the fact that you have to focus on balancing yourself, especially with, and also, at least with the mission I've been playing, is choosing which path to take. You could take an easier path, but it takes longer to get through, or you could try going through a more perilous or a more difficult path, but it is a shorter route. So it's interesting in that regard. I'm still trying to get the hang of things, especially with trying to not fall over with my packages and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I'll definitely play some more. I didn't play more. I wanted to play more this week, but I just couldn't because it's been a little too hot in the house, and I can't really run my PC when it's that hot. So I'm going to. It's going to be cooler over this weekend, so I'm gonna play some more. I intend on playing more of it then, and just getting more into it because I am intrigued by what's going on. It's definitely interesting, and you've definitely given your recommendation for it, so that's another reason why I wanted to give it a shot. But so far I am intrigued. And the last thing I've played was with my friend was Cuphead, and I hadn't played the game before. It's been sitting in my library, and he didn't know it had a co-op, and I said it actually does have co-op. And he said, oh really? I said, you want to give that a shot? I said, yeah, sure. So it's a very fun run and gun. I mean, the mechanics are also interesting because you do in addition to, of course, shooting, you have your dash to dodge, and you also have a parry attack. Although granted, the parry only works for certain enemies and certain projectiles, but it helps you with being able to use your special attacks and even leveling up to your super attack ultimately. And it's also interesting because you have things set up differently where you either have a boss level or you have a run and gun level where you just try to get from start to finish and also collect coins, so that way you can purchase upgrades for your character. And it it's cool because you could possibly just skip through all of the run and guns and just do a complete boss rush of the game. But I mean, of course, every area is broken up, so you do have to beat a boss in order to get to the next area. And the gameplay is definitely fun, and it doesn't necessarily feel too hard. Although for some reason, I feel like I kind of had an easier time getting through some of the bosses playing by myself when I was just recording footage today, as opposed to yesterday when I was playing in co-op. And I don't know if it's because it was probably around 3 or 4 in the morning, and so I'm not necessarily using my sharpest mind, or I don't know if it's just also the fact that possibly bosses have more HP when you're in co-op as opposed to playing by yourself. Also, I think one of the bosses, at least when I was playing, didn't seem as aggressive as when I was playing last night, but I could be wrong at that end. But yeah, I mean, also just this art style, it looks beautiful. I mean, having that, I mean, that everything was hand drawn, so I mean, it looks great. It just feels good as well. So it's a good game, and I think I will possibly play some more of this on the side. But I mean, it runs very well on the Steam Deck, and I mean, obviously it'll perform much better when you're playing it on desktop. But yeah, definitely a fun game.
So is that everything then?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, good stuff. Cuphead has definitely had me more interested since I got into Souls-likes. Now, would you call this in any way Souls, or just that it's a difficult game and that's really it?
It's just, I guess, difficult. I mean, I would more so call it, if I was going to compare it with any game, I would say more so maybe like Mega Man in a sense, just because you're running, trying to like shoot every enemy that you can. You have to use, well, you don't necessarily have to use different abilities, but some make things easier. For example, some abilities might have a shorter range, but they deal more damage as opposed to your standard attack, or you might have a homing attack, but that possibly also deals less damage as well. So there are trade-offs with the weapons, and you sort of just have to use whatever feels best to you. And you can have a loadout of 2 primary weapons, and you can swap them out as you're playing each level. And of course, like I said, you have your standard attack, and you also have certain abilities, like for example, you could have extra hit points, or you could have, or you could be invulnerable whenever you use a dash attack, or you could have your special ability bar automatically fill up instead of having to shoot enemies to have it fill up, or it can do it in addition to shooting enemies to have it fill up. So I definitely wouldn't say it's a Souls-like. I would really just say it's more so akin to Mega Man or any type of run and gun from that genre, like almost maybe like, I mean, I feel like this would be less like it, but Contra. Like those types of games I would say are more like Cuphead than Dark Souls.
Okay. So how long were you stuck on the tutorial?
Oh man, it was funny too, because when we started the game yesterday, we started a new save file, and so we got through the tutorial, and I looked at that part and I thought, so this is the infamous tutorial session. And I was like, all right, let me just see what I'm supposed to do here. Okay, parry, okay, parry, jump, okay, jump and dash. Oh, we're at the end now. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so Death Stranding. I mean, obviously you're still early in the game. First of all, I was curious, is there any reason you didn't record your own footage?
Yeah, so initially what had happened was I was originally just testing it out on Sunday. I think it was, no, it was Saturday when I think I started playing the game. And then on Sunday is when my niece and nephew came over, and that sort of threw a wrench into all of my plans at the time.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I didn't have time to record. And then by Monday, temperatures were starting to rise, and it was just too hot to use my desktop at all at that point.
Gotcha.
So that's why I haven't recorded anything for that.
All right. There we go. That works. The number one tip I would give you, in case someone else didn't already give you this tip, is hold down L2 and R2 when you're walking. That when you're carrying stuff, that will help you stay stay balanced more of the time. You'll move a little bit slower, but you're less likely to tip over and fall.
And should I just do that in general, or just only say if I'm
I do it
climbing
the
over
majority
stuff?
of the time.
Oh, all right.
I mean, you don't have to, but it's like if you do that, you will typically stay balanced more than not. And I mean, like I said, you do move a little slower, but usually it's worth it just to be more stable and be less likely to have the stuff you're transporting get damaged.
Okay, and I guess in
But
that. Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but of course, even then, you know, you can still sprint while holding L2 and R2, and you'll just sprint a little slower, but then you still maintain your balance a little better. So, but anyway, what were you gonna say?
So I guess I was gonna have a question, and that would be: I'm assuming based upon based upon this where I'm at right now, or at least where I stopped at, there will be some element of stealth with trying to avoid BTs and whatnot, and
Yeah.
I'm also just assuming that this will possibly happen in the middle of deliveries. So,
Oh yeah.
I guess that would probably be the best time to be using that strategy of constantly using L2 and R2.
I mean, when you're using L2 and R2, you'll be crouching most of the time anyway, because that's just a safer way to move when you're dealing with BTs. But of course, you can also use your pulse to scan for them. That will help you a lot. But yeah, there's really the L2 and R2 is something I use the vast majority of the time that I'm walking. Basically, the only time I'm not using it is if I'm driving something. And you're still early in the game, so it won't be super long before you have the option to get vehicles, but vehicles are only practical some of the times, not always. So but yeah, either way, I'm glad to hear you're playing this one, and I hope it's something that you end up sticking with quite a bit, because it's a great game. I very much enjoyed it, and obviously I still need to work on getting the rest of the achievements, but most of what I have left is grindy, and I think I'll probably be motivated to finally jump back in and finish getting the achievements whenever we get the PC version announced for Death Stranding 2. So yeah. Good stuff. All right, well, my gaming list is actually really short this week. So I did end up getting my physical copy, which I guess I left on the shelf, of Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered. So I played a little bit of Soul Reaver 1 on the Switch 2. And yeah, I mean, runs well, looks good, you can switch between the original visuals and the remastered visuals on the fly just by pressing in R3. And the controls are definitely feel like a PS1 game. But the little bit that I played, I've enjoyed. I haven't really gotten much of any of the Metroidvania elements yet, but I know it is a Metroidvania. But I'm super early. Like, I played maybe an hour total, if even that, because I basically played like a little bit, I think maybe Saturday or Sunday, and then I played a little bit today just to record some footage. I mean, I'm further than I was when I had tried playing it before, but that's about the extent of it. So yeah, I mean, I like what I played. it's just I'm super duper early, and I press the wrong button sometimes. Like I keep accidentally pressing the map when I'm trying to block because I'm so used to pressing L1 to block and that sort of thing. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's about the extent of what I can say about that one, having not played very much yet. But what I ended up playing a lot of, especially Saturday and Sunday, is Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I finished all of the DLC. I actually 100%ed all the DLC. Completed every area, beat all the bosses, completed the story. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to go back to doing stuff in the main game, because like I had already completed all the story in the main game, but what I didn't do was I haven't cleared every single area like because it's just there's so much on the map, and I've done a lot of it, but there's a number of areas that I just haven't finished. And so I'm kind of in a spot where like I'm in between on whether I want to continue working towards that, or if I'm just done with the game. I kind of feel less like I'm done with the game. I feel like I want to see how much longer I can handle doing the main stuff before I get to a point of just being like, okay, I'm really done with it now. And I think a lot of it is also just because of the fact that with as long as it's taken me to get through all of this, I kind of feel like I should just go ahead and do it. And I'm not completely burnt out on the game, even though the DLCs honestly were very samey. Like it was very different areas, but the tasks you're doing are basically the same in every area. It's just slight variations, mostly in terms of, different environments and that sort of thing. The boss fights, there was only like 3 real boss fights, and none of them were difficult. Basically they were just tanky. The bosses took a while to get through their health bars. But otherwise it wasn't, I really didn't have any difficulty with them at all. I got through each one on my first try. And that's what happens when you're playing this type of game versus playing a Souls game. So that's kind of just the way it worked out. But yeah, the story was decent. I'm still just not really a fan of how they tell the story in this game, because of all the choose your own, like your choices make a difference in how things play out, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't really. And just, I don't want that with Assassin's Creed. Like, what I love about Black Flag in particular, and what seems to be the case in the earlier games as well, is that the story is very, like, it's just a plainly told story, and you have a good amount of freedom in, like, how quickly you do the story, and, there's side activities and all that, but the way the story's told, it's just very, this is what the characters say, this is what happens. And this game, and I believe also with Valhalla and Shadows, basically has a lot of dialogue trees, and choose what you say, and sometimes, and this will impact the way things go, and it's like, I don't want that in Assassin's Creed. I just don't. I think that is a trash system for this type of game. I think really the last time that I really played a game that I thought that was actually good in was probably Mass Effect, and I guess also in Knights of the Old Republic. But for this game, it's not what I want in this game. I think that's part of why I liked Origins a lot better, was because Origins still told the story in more of a traditional fashion, even though it was a big open world with a lot to do. And there was no dialogue trees. It was just, these are the story events that happen in these areas, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that I probably will spend some more time just working on the main world, um, as grindy as it can be, at the same time, I also feel like I kind of just want to see it through to really complete it and feel completely satisfied with it from that standpoint. But I guess we'll see if I change my mind by next week. But in completing that, and well, I guess I should back up. I completed the last of the DLC stuff, I believe yesterday, and it was either yesterday or the day before. And today I was planning to play some more during my lunch break, but of course, being at the office, I couldn't get connected to the Ubisoft servers, so I couldn't actually play the game because I had closed it out since I had exited to export my video footage and all that. So I ended up just jumping back into Sekiro. And I was at the footage here is actually old footage. I may try to get some more recorded and added when I'm doing the final version of the video, but I haven't made it much further. Basically, I got to the next mini boss, and I got one of his health bubble things popped, I guess you could say, and haven't been able to get the second one done. I was actually trying to do that right before we got on the call, and just unfortunately did not succeed. But I think I know essentially what I need to do. It's just a matter of not being rushed to do it, because I know that if I were to retreat for long enough, then eventually the boss will lose interest, and then I can come back and do another stealth hit on him and take him out that way. But I was kind of in a rush because I was trying to get it done before we did the podcast, and so yeah. But yeah, that's all I played this week. I mean, it's just been mostly a lot of AC Odyssey. I mean, it says that over the past couple weeks I've put in 28 hours, which I don't know if that's actually accurate, but I definitely spent a lot of time playing it on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So, and while we were like listening to stuff in the evenings. So, yeah, I've put a lot of time into it. But I think, I mean, I haven't fully decided yet. I'm kind of in between on AC Odyssey versus just playing Sekiro. But I guess we'll just kind of see what happens when I jump back into Odyssey, and whether I just get really annoyed really fast with the open world and decide I want to go back to Sekiro where it's not open world, or if I just want to actually feel like I truly finished AC Odyssey and stick with it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's everything.
Okay. So question regarding Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, depending on how you feel with the game right now, if you decide that you want to just take a break with trying to get through all the grindy stuff, is that something you would possibly save for, Christmas time when you're watching Die Hard? Is that something you would, play then? Or do you think you've had enough where you've completed the DLC, and if you completed at least the main story stuff, you probably won't go back into like the side stuff with like completing all the areas?
Right. Well, I mean, like I said, I've actually completed all the main story. That's all completely
Okay.
done.
Okay.
That was done a while ago. It's just that I haven't decided if I am fully done with the game, because part of me kind of wants to go back to doing all the rest of the side stuff in the world and 100, completely clear all the areas. Because it's like, if it was just a story issue, then that'd be fine. But I kind of feel like with as long as it's taken me, I kind of want to like fully complete it and not just do it halfway. Because I guess I just won't really feel like I can completely put it to bed until I've actually finished it. And I haven't quite gotten to the point where I feel like I have finished it to my satisfaction. But yeah.
I guess next question would be, I know that you definitely prefer the story in Origins over Odyssey, but gameplay wise, do you have a preference between the two?
I think Odyssey has much better combat, um, but Origins I just like better overall in the gameplay because it's although it has a lot of similarities, it's just mostly the fact that it's not quite as bloated.
Hmm.
Um, and also because of the fact that when you complete an area, I mean, you can actually see a checklist of what all has to be done in an area, and Odyssey doesn't have that. I mean, like, pretty much the way you know you finished everything is if you go around the map and there's no more question marks. And that's really what it comes down to.
Okay. All right. And regarding Sekiro, so do you know which boss you're on or which mini boss you're on? Um,
Oh,
I mean, you probably might not know the name, but do you know like
he's a
what he?
spear guy in white. That's all I remember.
Okay. And is it the one where there are like two? There are like two rows of like grass on the sides, and I think there are a couple of like
Yep.
archers in the that area. Yeah, him. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, like the best thing that I did was try to take out all the guys there and then try to like stealth attack him one time and then try to like just at that point just face him head on because he definitely is quite aggressive. That reach he has is just nasty. Now, I mean, running away definitely is good as a last minute thing, but I think if you get to the point where he does lose interest in you, then he'll regain all his health. So you sort of need to, and that will apply to like all of the mini bosses that you encounter as well.
Guess that makes sense.
Yeah, where they'll have full aggro and stuff, but if you get too far away to the point where they just like lose interest in you, then they go back to their post and then they just like regain everything instantly. So that's just something to keep in mind. I mean, definitely if you have to retreat because you run out of healing and you're like, I need to get back to a shrine and heal myself, definitely do that. But if you're just like saying like, I'm gonna break away, wait for him to lose interest, and then stealth attack him again, you'll essentially just restart the fight all over.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, I think with his fight, learning and mastering how to do that stomp counter is like really important to like, especially like building up or at least building up his fatigue meter and whatnot. So I think that's really the key thing to do for him. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I did get the stomp thing. I just haven't. Well, basically, I didn't have any healing potions by the time I got to him, and so it was more than anything. I mean, of course, I didn't think about the fact, which should have been obvious, that his health would regenerate. But it was more than anything. I was just like, okay, well, for one, the one time that I was thinking, oh, I'll try doing the stomp thing. He just swung his spear instead of stabbing, and so then I couldn't do it. And then I was like starting to get his stun meter up, but it wasn't really. I just didn't really have enough room to do that because of the fact that I couldn't heal myself. So yeah, but at least I mean I'm sure that if I try again and go in with more some healing items, whatever they're called, the gourds, the healing gourds, then I can probably manage it. It's just mostly the fact that I didn't have any left, and between having dealt with other enemies in the previous area because there was a couple of items I had missed, and the fact that that I just had, a bunch of enemies around him to deal with, I didn't feel like I could quite manage that. But I'll try it again, and I'm sure I'll be able to figure it out one way or another. So yeah.
Good stuff. Oh, and actually, I will say is, I can't remember how far it is from that one, but there is another mini boss, and this one is kind of required to face, unlike some of the other ones, I guess you could say. And it definitely helps to sort of, because there are a bunch of enemies in the areas, stealth kill as many of them as you can, and you will have to run away. And even though, I mean, you might not have a chance to attack him anyway, but even if you do attack him, if you just run away, sure, he regains his health, but I think the biggest thing to do is just trying to wipe out all the enemies, the standard enemies in that area before you encounter him. And I think also that would really apply to most of the main bosses as well, at least the ones that do have enemies surrounding them. It's just to take out all of those guys first and then focus on the mini boss, even if you have to like run away after taking them all out and have him reset his aggro, so that way you can just at least stealth attack him one time and make things easier from that point on.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind for all of that. I'll kind of play it by ear. I kind of think that I want to try to beat that spear guy before I stop playing, mostly because of the fact that I know that I'm pretty sure that there is a shrine thing like right after him, because there's a fog door that I can't, go through until I beat him. So it's like, well, if I could get to that save point, that would at least be a good like stopping point, rather than having to go through enemies again. I mean, at least I know that most of the enemies between can be run past, and of course I also open the shortcuts so that I can get back to that guy more easily than I could before. But I did get both of the axe and flamethrower prosthetics, so I've at least been able to use the axe on the shield guys, which has been very helpful. Since before that I was like, okay, I'm having a hard time. I mean, unless I just happen to get lucky enough that they move their shield to where I can hit them with my sword, it's not really doing much of anything. So yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff, though. I do think that I mean, like, I really want to play Sekiro. It's just, I just feel like I haven't quite finished Assassin's Creed, and I just need to finish it. I'm enjoying it enough to where I feel like I'm not burnt out on it, but I'm also, just because of how long it's taken me to get through this, I just need to power through and just keep going until I just get to a point where I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And then move on. But since I'm not at the point yet where I'm burnt out on it, that'll be fine. One thing I do want to mention with Odyssey is that initially, so I was getting close to the end of the first part of the second DLC, because it's split up into 3 episodes. Like, first one you're in Elysium, then you go to Hades, and then I guess Tartarus actually, and then you go to Atlantis. And so I had finished up, I was like getting right near the end of Elysium, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'm actually basically at the end of the DLC. And then I end up down in, all right, there you go. Okay. I get down to Tartarus, or Hades, or whatever the area is considered, and it's like, okay, I guess there is another episode. And then I'm getting close to the end of that, and I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm nearing the end here too. And then I end up in Atlantis, and it occurred to me, duh, it makes sense I would end up in Atlantis because the name of the DLC is The Fate of Atlantis. So, but it was, when I was getting close to the end of that first episode, I was thinking, if this is the end of the DLC, maybe I'll just go back into the main game, because I feel like I'm in a good enough rhythm that I want to keep playing. And then I kept going and going and going, and I got through all the DLC, and at the end I was looking at the open world, and I was kind of unsure if I wanted to keep playing because there's just enough. There's like some areas that I haven't even started getting the map opened up. And then there's some areas where it's just like I know that there are forts I haven't completed and so on and so forth. So it's very much going to be a wait and see kind of thing. But I also really want to play Sekiro. So we'll see. Anyway. All right. Well, let's get into the news unless you have anything else you wanted to talk about beforehand.
No, sir.
All right. So, first and foremost, we got to talk about this job listing with PlayStation. You want to do the honors?
With pleasure. So there, Sony has had a new job listing over on what was the website exactly? I can't remember if this was on a specific website. Oh, okay, it was just on their job board. Actually, Greenhouse on there, and it is for Senior Director, Multi-Platform and Account Management. And then it has general stuff here talking about the brand of PlayStation, but the overview for what the position is reporting to the Vice President Commercial Management as Senior Director of Multi-Platform and Account Management. You will play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studio software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic Game Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. This role is accountable for optimizing title profitability, ensuring cross-functional alignment, and leading a high-performing team focused on multi-platform expansion, mid-range commercial planning, and platform partner management. And some other stuff here talking about overseeing out-tier, so like mid-range stuff for PlayStation Studios games across non-PlayStation platforms, driving long-term revenue growth and audience reach. And not really too much here otherwise. Just talking also about, relationship with lead platform relationships across PC and console ecosystems, so Steam, Epic, Xbox, and Nintendo, ensuring strong collaboration, promotional effectiveness, and performance optimization. And yeah, so that's essentially everything here as far as details with the, or at least the key details for this position. And as you would expect, PlayStation fanboys aren't really thrilled about this at all. They have definitely voiced their disdain for this. But that being said, what are your thoughts on this intriguing position?
Well, first of all, I do want to note that there was an update to the story as of around noon on Sunday that someone who's a well-known insider, or at least a well-connected insider, Shinobi602, has said people are kind of getting carried away with this, like worrying about it being some of the bigger games, and that basically in responding to someone else that had commented on it, that it's probably going to be more live service and smaller titles initially. But something that I definitely do want to say is that although I'm sure this insider more or less knows what he's talking about, I would also say it's only a matter of time. Even if it's initially just live service and some smaller games, that doesn't necessarily mean that nothing's going to happen. And, there was a point in time when Herman Hulst said that, just because Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC doesn't mean that every PlayStation exclusive is going to come to PC. And then it turned to, well, none of the games are coming day and date. And then it turned into, well, only the live service games are going to be day and date. And now currently we have it to where we not only have day and date live service games, we also have day and date remasters, and in some cases, new games, new smaller games like Lego Horizon Adventure, for example. And so, with all that being said, the Salt has been glorious. I think that there are basically two camps of PlayStation fanboys, and I'm not talking about PlayStation fans because the fans are typically more rational, but the fanboys fall into one of two camps. Either they are in complete denial about it, they refuse to acknowledge the possibility that this could lead to big first party tentpole titles coming to Xbox, or they are in full blown depression about it. They've gone to they're basically in the fourth or third to fifth stage of grief. They're either angry or depressed at this point about it because they've resigned to the reality that it's probably going to eventually end up having their big tentpole titles on Xbox. And we've been saying this for a while, that this was going to happen eventually. I mean, we both thought, okay, it'll probably still be a while, and it may still be a while. But the fact is that Sony is going to hire someone for a minimum starting salary of $250,000. And if you honestly believe that is just for small titles and live service games, I got a bridge to sell you, because that's not all it's going to be. Now, is it going to be day and date on their first party titles right away? No. I would say that's highly unlikely. However, Herman Hulst said in their recent investor Q&A thing that they're going to have a very thoughtful approach to releasing their titles outside of PlayStation. And very thoughtful doesn't mean none of their exclusives will make it to other platforms. I mean, from what we're seeing here, especially considering the fact that right after that whole thing, Helldivers 2 is announced for Xbox. It's not going to be all immediate. Now, one of the other things that came up on this Push Square article when they did the update is there is that rumored 2.5D God of War game, which, at least from what Push Square believes, and I tend to agree with them in this case, that it could very well be announced for the Switch 2, coming there as well. They say, however, they wouldn't expect to see games like God of War Ragnarok ported to competing consoles at this point. I would say probably not Ragnarok right away. They would probably do 2018 before they did Ragnarok. But PlayStation has realized that if they are going to reach that 10% profit margin that they want to have, that 10% operating profit that their investors are asking for, that their stakeholders are asking for, they need to sell their games in other places, and they need to be more aggressive with where they sell their games. And so the floodgates are starting to open. It's not going to be all immediate. It's going to take some time. I would be surprised if we see a big first-party game before the end of this year. Or, well, I guess I should clarify on that. I would be surprised if we see a recent big first-party game before the end of this year, with the exception of Helldivers 2. Because obviously Helldivers 2 is coming. We know that they've already announced it. It's coming out in August, same day that Gears of War Reloaded is coming out. And so, from that standpoint, yes, we know that's coming. But in terms of like the bigger things like God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon, things like that, I don't have any doubt that they're coming at some point to Xbox. It's just a matter of how soon. Now, I would say that probably if they were going to port one of those games over this year, it would probably be Horizon, because that's the oldest of those types of games. And I would say, as we both agreed months and months and months ago, Lego Horizon Adventure is probably going to be coming soon. It will probably be announced very soon as coming to Xbox. And despite what people were trying to tell me to the contrary, this is something we said was going to happen. We said that it was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. We thought Helldivers 2 was going to happen. It was only a matter of time. And sure enough, Helldivers 2 has already been announced, which to me, that's actually the bigger of the two, because of the fact that that is a full first party big title that already sold really well on PC. But the other part of this that I didn't specifically mention before, but that's a really good point, and it's not something we have on our list to talk about because I forgot to put it on our list, but the Forza Horizon 5, which is, of course, like a 5-year-old Xbox game. I believe, well, it was on both Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles, but that one has already is the best-selling game on PlayStation this year. Or at the very least, maybe I'm remembering that wrong. I'll have to double check on that one. Fact check myself on that. Maybe I'm remembering wrong on that, but it did way outsell Astrobot. So in a short period of time, it outsold Astrobot, which was their Game of the Year winner last year. Which shows that it's not that Xbox doesn't have games, it's just that PlayStation people didn't want to buy an Xbox, which is like, yeah, I get it. You don't want to buy an Xbox, just like we don't want to buy a PlayStation to play PlayStation games. I mean, imagine that. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling all over the place. I do need to fact check on that those Forza Horizon sales, but go ahead with your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, so I mean, you essentially said everything that was on my mind. Um, yeah, we probably won't be getting anything big at first, but similar to how with PC, especially when Sony bought Nixus, people are saying, "Oh, it's just smaller games. It's only gonna be live service games," and then they ported over other games. They said, "Oh, well, you're not gonna get this game. You're not gonna get like our flagship titles. Flagship titles start getting ported over, and then it's like, oh well, you're not gonna get like Day and Date, and then we started getting, then we got like Until Dawn remastered Day and Date, and so it's
Horizon Zero Dawn remastered.
Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn remastered.
Lego Horizon Adventure, yeah. And
everything. It's just like every excuse they had just got debunked shortly after, and I mean, sure, Sony might say something like, we don't have any intentions of doing anything at all, but in a similar vein, Insomniac tweeted at one point, for people who were saying, I think possibly after Nixus was purchased or something like that, they were saying like Spider-Man is not going to come to PC. There are no plans at all, or something like that. They were basically just saying,
they said it will never come.
It will never come to PC. And then 1 year later, what came to PC? So sure.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't 1 year later. It was several years later, because it was like, okay. I'm pretty sure that it was. They said that like shortly after it was first released on PS4. And they said that it is a PlayStation exclusive and that it will never come to PC or Xbox.
Well, that aged like milk.
Yep.
But in a similar vein, though, they said would never come to PC, came to PC. What does that also say about the Xbox version then? And I believe that it will come eventually. And I can agree that out of all the older games that Sony has, Horizon Zero Dawn, at least if they're doing just the original version, not the remaster, although granted, maybe it might make more sense to do the remaster. Yeah, that's partially what I'm thinking. They might just do that one, and then later on, maybe port over Spider-Man or God of War. Mm-hmm. They might maybe also do what's that one game? Days Gone. That I know that was another one that they ported over. but they'll definitely use some older stuff first before moving into newer ones. But I have no doubt that they are going to get to that point. It's just a matter of when they're going to do it. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's sort of like this situation with Nixus, where people were like, "It's not going to be this. You're not going to get that," and then just wait a while, and we got those games. So it's going to be the same
Yep.
thing. And Sony sees it. I mean, they see what they see how uh Microsoft has done well by selling the games on their storefront, selling their games on their platform, and they're like, "Wow, we want a cut of that. we want some of that action." So they're now thinking, okay, if we can get these sales on PC, can we get those same sales on our competitive on our competition's hardware? So like say, hey, let's sell the games. And Lego Horizon might have been a litmus test for them, but it probably wasn't the best test to have, I think, for them. I mean, I don't think that was really the best thing for them to do. And I mean, granted, they also didn't put on Xbox, so who knows? I mean, granted, though, if it didn't really sell that well, even on the Switch, I think it's just overall it wasn't doing well. I mean, granted, I don't know how the sales overall were for that game, so it might just be a case of it just wasn't that good in general.
Well, from what I've heard, it's not that the game wasn't good. It's just that
just
people weren't interested.
Mm.
It's just like, from what I've heard, it's actually pretty solid. But the problem is that Aloy is not a character that people like. I mean, pretty much the only people who like Aloy are PlayStation fanboys. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is the fanboys really like her, or at the very least like her games. And it's like, I like the games. I mean, I liked Zero Dawn. I like what I played of Forbidden West, but I can't stand Aloy as a character. I don't like her at all. I just think the gameplay is pretty solid. Other than the constant, incessant talking. And the I'm smarter than you attitude that she seems to have the majority of the time. Like I said, she went down her autistic rabbit hole, and so she believes that everyone else is too stupid to understand it. And while she's not wrong that people, it's hard for them to understand because it's so foreign to them, it's just the idea, she just acts like she's smarter than everybody else because she happens to have done, gotten internet access. But anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with this. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think those games will come eventually, just a matter of when. Now, one thing that the listing kind of, I guess, confirmed something that I had been wondering, or something that I had thought about, and that is the fact that this probably means we aren't going to get any more games coming over to GOG, because of the fact that the listing specifically said Steam and Epic Games, and they didn't mention GOG at all. And I mean, sure, with how Sony was pushing for, needing to have a PSN account, that sort of left me with that wonder if games moving forward were going to be ported over to GOG or not, because of the fact that GOG focuses on DRM free stuff, and having to have an account for a game goes against that mindset, because you need to connect to a server in order to play those games, and that sort of defeats the purpose of everything. So I guess because of the fact that GOG hasn't been mentioned at all, I guess we can take it as we probably won't get any more games, which is a bit of a shame, because I still would love to see Spider-Man brought over to GOG, because I would buy that day one on there. And if they brought over some other games, Go Tsushima, I would buy that day one, just because I want to support that practice of having those games be DRM free. Even if I already own them on Steam, I just like the idea of having them that I can have backed up on a hard drive, and just years later just come back and say, oh, I have this game, doesn't need a server, I can just plug it in, install it, and I'm good to go. So
Yeah.
it's a shame on that end. That seems like this is a confirmation that we won't be getting more games there. But as a whole, though, it's definitely great that it does seem like games are going to be ported over. Now, one thing that I am kind of interested in is if Sony will essentially have games go over this at the same time to Xbox and not PlayStation, Xbox and Nintendo, or if they're going to maybe treat it the way they did with Lego Horizon, where they might put it on the Switch first and then later on put it on Xbox. That's something that I am interested in seeing. But granted, if they are trying to have the strategy of putting the games onto other platforms, I would think that they would just go ahead and do both at the same time. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, I can confirm. So Forza Horizon 5 not only outsold Astrobot, but it's actually 2025's number one selling new PS5 game by copies sold. So it even outsold Monster Hunter Wilds on PS5.
Wow.
This article may or may not be accurate on that front because they put that it overtook Monster Hunter World, but Monster Hunter World was a PS4 game. So I'm not sure if this person just didn't do their proper research and that it was just that it outsold Monster Hunter World. Even though I would think Monster Hunter World probably would have sold better because Monster Hunter World had a longer period of time. I mean, now World selling on PS5 specifically, probably not very much, but Wilds would have sold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the better selling platforms. So I'm not entirely sure on that front, but either way, it's sold over 3 million copies on PS5. And if that's really the case, it's like it's sold better than the last big first party game from Sony. At least, well, I should say that is Astrobot. Helldivers 2 has definitely outsold those, but most of its copies were sold last year versus this year. So but either way, it's just, when PlayStation sees that an Xbox game outsold, I mean, is the best-selling game on their platform, and a game that's already more than made its money back. So all the money that Microsoft makes selling those copies of Forza Horizon, and they're being sold at full price, that's just profit. They're just making profit on it. Because the cost to port it over would have been pretty minimal, especially considering the fact that they already had it on PC, and so they probably would have just had to tweak it a little bit. And even if they had to spend, 100 hours, whatever, 1,000 hours working on that, most likely it would have been done by a small team because most of the work was already done. It's just getting it ported over. You get a small team of people who know what they're doing. You can have it done in no time. And yeah, it blows my mind from that standpoint. But going back to the main topic with that, this is just all the more reason why, Sony wants to sell their games on other platforms. And how quickly it's going to get to the point of actually seeing some of their older first-party games, like Spider-Man. We'll see. I think you're probably right. Spider-Man would probably be the first one. But the one thing with Spider-Man is, of course, there's also licensing fees, which means Sony doesn't make as much off of it. And from what I understand, the licensing fees are very high. So, but at the same time, it would probably also sell extremely well on Xbox. So, I mean, it would be smart for them to do that. And I'm sure Disney would be all for it because it's like, hey, they make huge profits off of that. And even if Sony's only making, half of the, Sony gets their 70% cut. Well, let's say half of that 70% goes to Disney, and then they get the other half. They could probably sell enough copies to where it would easily make up for that. I mean, they wouldn't be making nearly as much as they would if it wasn't a licensed game, but it still is going to be a lot of money because, I mean, Spider-Man is huge as it is. Spider-Man Remastered is a great game. and doesn't have all the story BS that Spider-Man 2 brought in. So it's a no-brainer. And I'm sure, though, that if they brought over like God of War especially, it would probably sell exceedingly well as well. I don't think it would sell as well as Spider-Man, but there would definitely be Xbox players, both those who maybe just want to play the game in general, and then those who want to buy it just because of how salty it would make PlayStation fans. There's that as well. And I know, listening to this, for anybody who's listening who's a PlayStation fan, you might be thinking, oh, we're just ragging on PlayStation fanboys. We're just, we're Xbox shills, whatever. The thing that we're happy about with this is, more than anything, apart from the fact that fanboys just can't stand the fanboys, but also because of the fact that we want to see more companies put their games everywhere, because it gives consumers more of a choice of where they buy their games. And then they have to compete on the hardware front and in the software, in the services, and it not just be that they're holding games hostage so that you are forced to spend $500+ on a console just to play that game, when otherwise you might not want to. And I just want to see this happen because it's good for consumers in terms of being able to choose where to buy their stuff, but it's also good for competition because then they have to compete beyond just holding games hostage. They have to actually provide a product that people want. And that's really what it comes down to. So, obviously, we're PC guys. We play primarily on PC. I have a Switch too, even though I don't play it much. And Justin still has a Switch, even though he basically doesn't play it anymore and has all but sworn off Nintendo apart from Metroid. But it's... We see the advantages of PC, the things that we love about it, and it's our platform of choice, and we think that everyone should be able to just play where they want to play, and not be forced to buy another piece of hardware just so that they can play a game that they're interested in. So this is good for everybody, whether you recognize it or not. It is good for everyone. So yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our next topic. And that is that there is a Nintendo Direct partner showcase, or what was it? A game? Let me see. What was it that it was called? The game keycard showcase. And so it's supposed to be focus on third parties, not first party stuff. Despite the rumors previously talking about some first party stuff, sometimes Nintendo does things a little wonky to where they'll still have like little tidbits of first party stuff mixed in with the third party stuff, but it's primarily going to be focused as a partner showcase or a game keycard showcase. And since we were just talking about how PlayStation is going to be bringing more games to Nintendo, we can certainly bring up some predictions along with that. But the first thing I'm going to do here is, we had already done a bunch of ridiculous predictions, and I mean a bunch, from several episodes ago, back on episode 90. And I'm just going to read to you the entire list that we had. And I'll probably skip over anything that's first party, but I'm just going to cover it all, because once again, most of this we don't expect to be there, but that way we can just have this review, have it on the record again, since the Direct has not happened yet. It's going to be tomorrow morning, because we're recording on Wednesday night. It's on Thursday at 6 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So here's the full list. Now, these first 6 are things that were mentioned as coming up by a Nintendo insider, Wood beat 'em ups. And so he said that there's going to be some GameCube shadow drops, which would include Pokemon Coliseum, Metaphor ReFantazio, which would be, of course, third party. Death Stranding Director's Cut is supposed to be there, also third party. Witcher 3 is supposed to get a Switch 2 version. There's supposed to be a release date for Metroid Prime, or Metroid Prime 4, but of course, considering the fact that it's supposed to be third-party stuff, we'll see if that actually happens. Probably not. And then a teaser for Animal Crossing, the next Animal Crossing game. So the predictions that we made, some of this is going to be first party. We're just going to cover it all anyway. Was that Metroid Prime 4 would be released in September or October. That there would be a Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD combo pack that would have 4K 60 FPS, potentially also 1080p 120 FPS. Kirby Air Riders could be shown. Once again, another first party thing. And then I think the rest of it is mostly third party stuff. So we got Persona 3 Reload is one thing we were saying. Persona 4 Revival. Final Fantasy 15 Shadow Dropped. And Final Fantasy 16 revealed. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, of course, getting a release date, which will probably happen. Xenoblade Chronicles X getting that update for the 60 FPS, which we'll see if that actually happens since that's first party. Death Stranding 2 getting announced. Gravity Rush Remasters, a remastered collection getting announced. Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2 as a collection with mouse controls. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters or ports. Doom the Dark Ages, a Dark Souls bundle with a 60 FPS upgrade for Dark Souls Remastered for free, and a discount for Dark Souls 2 and 3 if you already own Dark Souls 1. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Armored Core 6, a release date for Elden Ring, which is pretty much guaranteed. Starfield, Halo Master Chief Collection, Lies of P, Black Myth Wukong, Baldur's Gate 3, Oblivion Remastered, Hi-Fi Rush, Bloodborne Remastered, Expedition 33, Mass Effect Trilogy, Nier Replicant, Kingdom Hearts as non-cloud versions, Devil May Cry 5, Indiana Jones and the Freaky Circle, Control Ultimate Edition, Diablo 4, the Final Fantasy 13 Trilogy, Ghostwire Tokyo, Ghost Runner 2, Switch 2 version of Ghost Runner, Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, the next Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Metal Gear Solid Delta, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, Neo and Neo 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, and the Watch Dogs series. So, that was obviously speeding through it just because we've already previously covered these predictions in length, but do you have any additional predictions now that we know Sony's going to bring more PlayStation games over?
Yeah, so even though because of the fact we did have that announcement, I'm not necessarily doubling down, but I'm 1.5ing down on Gravity Rush. Sure, it's a bit of a pipe dream, but part of me feels like this would be a perfect place to have that game. The Switch 2 would be great. It would be perfect, and it's definitely capable of running those games 1 and 2 at 60 FPS, if not more than that. So I really feel like that's definitely something that would happen, and something that's sort of popped into my mind recently, and part of it is because with the Switch 1, these games sort of came later after they were already released, and I feel like enough time has passed, and I think that it possibly could run decently is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I think that's a game that could possibly run it well enough, and I think it's a game where, like I said, they ported Xenoverse 1 and 2 late onto the Switch 1, and I'm guessing it sold decently, and they also ported Kakarot late on. So I feel like this is another game, Sparking Zero. It would come over in a shorter period of time than the other games, and so there's they have more of a it'll probably sell better than waiting further on into the lifespan of the console. And after hearing some of these games mentioned all over again, I still feel like these definitely could be ported over. So Persona 3 Reload, I really feel like that's gonna be nuts. I mean, I feel like there's gonna be a big section where they just say, here are a bunch of games from Sega slash Atlas, and you just have like Persona 3, as you said before, Metaphor, Refantasio, possibly, mentioning that even though it was announced before and they only just like teased it, but saying, hey, it's Persona 4 remake is also coming over as well. And potentially, actually, I can't remember if this came over to the Switch or not, but like the latest Yakuza game, Infinite Wealth, I don't know if that was brought over to the Switch, but if it hasn't been brought over, then that's something that I think could be brought to the Switch too, and it should run better if the first one was already on, or at least the 7 was on the base Switch. Then 8 should definitely run a whole lot better on that, since it's like the same engine and whatnot. So yeah, but other than that, I think most of the stuff, except for maybe our dream games like Bloodborne, I think that a lot of the ones we mentioned are definitely viable. That could be announced tomorrow, and I kind of feel like I doubt that there might be any first party references, even if it's something like a GameCube Switch Online thing. I think I kind of feel like they might, or at least I'm hoping they'll just stick with third party only stuff, and we just hear that. It'll make trying to be right a whole lot easier if they only focus on third party games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting any first party stuff, or if there would be, it would be something that's like closely related to something else that's going to be dropped. But I mean, like closely related to a third party thing. But yeah, I pretty much agree with you from that standpoint. All right, well, apart from all the things that we already predicted, which I'm just going to stand by on my list once again, throwing stuff at the wall, seeing if anything sticks. I also am going to predict some other stuff. So first of all, in light of the announcement that we're going to be getting more PlayStation games on Nintendo consoles, I think we could get an announcement for Spider-Man Remastered and or Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn to me in some ways seems a little more likely, especially because we already have Lego Horizon Adventure on the Switch. But Spider-Man Remastered is certainly a possibility. I mean, I don't think they would be doing Spider-Man 2. I would say Spider-Man Remastered would be the most likely. Potentially with that Miles Morales, but that might be something they spread out a little bit more. I guess realistically, probably it would only be Spider-Man Remastered initially. Kind of like what they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake. They haven't announced Rebirth is coming to Switch 2 yet, even though we know it's obviously going to come to Switch 2. Same thing with Rebirth coming to Xbox. We know that it's going to come eventually, but it hasn't been officially announced. So, but yeah, I think that I'm as much as that entire list is ridiculous and it's way long. I mean, literally, we have, including the 5 that were from beat 'em ups. There's 50 things on the list. So it's a ridiculous list, and I would be shocked if we even got 10 of those correct. Apart from the ones that are more obvious, like the games that have already been previously announced, like Elden Ring, for example. We know that that's been announced. I mean, that was already announced. Getting a release date for that, very believable, very likely. Metaphor, it was already rumored anyway, and I've been saying since the beginning that I thought that it was going to come over anyway, because just the Switch 1 couldn't do it, but Switch 2 absolutely could do it. Persona 3 Reload, that was another one to me that was really obvious, because while I do think they could have done a 30 FPS version on Switch 1, it coming to Switch 2, there's no reason why it can't. I mean, I can run that game at 60 FPS locked on the Steam Deck, and the Switch 2 is around the same, maybe stronger, maybe weaker, but either way, even if they did it at 30 FPS, well, I wouldn't want to play it at 30 FPS after playing it at 60. It would be perfectly fine. It's not a game that needs 60 FPS. It's just better at 60 FPS. But I could see them, going for a little better visuals and then just aiming for 30 instead of having what's still really excellent visuals at 60. Anyway, so we'll kind of see what happens with that. But either way, man, I'm looking forward to seeing this tomorrow. I find Nintendo Directs exciting, even though I am planning to buy even less Nintendo games than I've ever bought before. And I mean, I've said it many times, I have a big collection of Switch games, physical and digital, especially physical. And so, for me, I'm probably not going to be buying nearly as many games on Switch 2, but there are some games that I will probably end up buying. And it's more so because, well, it's more so because of the fact that I want to support those games, because I appreciate those games whether or not I appreciate what Switch themselves, what Nintendo's doing with it. Now, I hope that at least some of those games will actually be all on the cartridge instead of being, game key cards. But if we're completely realistic, it is a game key card showcase tomorrow. That's what we're going to be getting, because the vast majority of games are going to be coming out that way, unless Nintendo actually decides to correct things, which highly unlikely, but not impossible. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to add to the list. Well, here's a shot in the dark. The Last of Us coming to the Switch. Last of Us Part 1. Switch 2, not Switch 1. I mean, if they were doing the PS4 version, I guess realistically it would have to be the PS3 version for the Switch 1. It would probably run like butter on the PS3 version if they could port it properly, but yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what kind of results we're going to see from that standpoint. But I agree with you. I think Gravity Rush, that seems like even more perfect games to put on there. Here's another idea. Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian.
Yes.
Those could be really cool ones. I would definitely go for at least 2, if not all 3 of those. The Last Guardian I didn't like as much, and Eco I've never finished, but Shadow of the Colossus was excellent. I mean, the controls are a little janky, but just the gameplay overall and the music is just like so good, and the story was really good too. Very Japanese, but also just like something that very much stuck with me for a long time. So yeah. Anyway, I think that's everything I have to say on that front.
Okay, I want to add one possible thing, and you said something that kind of spurred this thought in my head. What if Nintendo does another would this count as third party? Is if they did another sort of collaboration type of game, like the Mario and Rabbids game, for example. That's something maybe we could see.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like, Mario and Rabbids 3, that's always a possibility. Either if they're doing something with Ubisoft or they want to partner with some other company, it'll be interesting seeing another sort of collaborative project going on like that. So I'm just gonna put in generic collaboration, third-party collaboration, as one of my games there. But yeah, that's just something I thought about adding in.
Okay. That actually brought up another thought. More Assassin's Creed games. I mean, right now they have I don't think they have Assassin's Creed 1, but they do have the Ezio collection. And they have 3 and 4. And they have Rogue. And I'm trying to think of what other ones. That might be it. But I mean, there's like Unity still. There's Syndicate. There's there's the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games, which are just like the 2.5D side-scrolling platformers. There's of course Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla and Shadows. I think Shadows would probably be the one that would be most likely to be revealed, at least as more of like a big reveal, because it's a new game. You know, it's still a pretty new game since it just came out this year. But they could very well just even having a sizzle reel just showing like other Assassin's Creed games coming over that are not yet on the system. I think that would be cool. I mean, would I buy them? No, because I've already bought them really twice in many cases, because I bought them on Ubisoft, and then when they were heavily discounted on Steam, I bought them on there. Of course, both times it was when they were heavily discounted. Some of them I actually got for free. I think Unity I got for free, and 3 and 4 I got for free. And Odyssey I got for free initially, though I ended up eventually buying that myself. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I think that we could see some other Assassin's Creed titles just in a sizzle reel, probably more likely, though Shadows would be my guess for if they were going to do like a bigger one, they would probably do Shadows because it's brand new.
Sounds believable. I think that's possible.
You know, one thing we didn't mention that I think actually could very well happen: the next Call of Duty, the one that's coming out this year, could very well be on the Switch too.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
It's very possible. I think that it's actually, there's a decent chance of that.
And that would be the first Call of Duty since, I think, Ghosts
Black Ops
on
3,
the Wii U.
I think. Oh, Ghost, that's right. Yeah, Ghost, that was the last one, yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yep. I mean, it would definitely possibly do well. I mean, I don't know how well, but it's definitely a possibility, I think.
Yeah.
They could probably, get a resurge of interest on the platform.
Yeah. I mean, I would say either this year or next year. I mean, if not this year, the next year for sure. Would be my guess. But I mean, obviously Microsoft has had a good relationship with Nintendo for a while now, and they've already said that they were planning to start bringing Call of Duty to Nintendo, so I don't see any reason why it wouldn't happen. It's just this year it's more a matter of have they had enough time to get it ported. That's really the one question, which is why I would say if not this year, the next year for sure. I mean, makes no difference to me because I've never bought a Call of Duty game and I've never had any desire to play a Call of Duty game. But hey, be great for people who want to. And I'm sure there are plenty of people like that out there. So, I actually want to give one more prediction. Well, no, I'm going to add another two games from EA that I haven't already mentioned. One of those being Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I mean, realistically, they could do either of the Mirror's Edge games, but Catalyst is the better game in my opinion, and that one I would probably actually buy because I love that game. But the other one is Titanfall 2. Especially because I remember back when Titanfall 2 was first announced and someone asked if that would end up on Nintendo's platform, and this is well before the Switch was like quite huge. In fact, it may have even been before the Switch was officially announced, and the director just laughed about it. But now, I could totally see it happening, because, I mean, the Switch 2 could easily run Titanfall 2, without question. And, it's just a way to make more money off of that game, so, why not? Not saying it will happen, but I'm saying that it could happen. So. I don't think I have anything else though. I think that's all the games. I mean, our list is already ridiculous, and we'll have to. I'll send you that list right now so I don't forget of everything we talked about before, and then we'll see if we get anything right at all.
And question: do you think it would be possible, since you mentioned it? Do you think it would be possible if EA just did a bundle of Mirror's Edge 1 and 2, just like a dual pack?
Potentially, but they've never done that, so I don't know if they would, and I don't know how well either of them really sold. I know a lot of people didn't really care for Catalyst, but I think most of the people who didn't like it, they just didn't like the collectibles aspect of it, because there were some of the collectibles where you literally had to stop running in order to grab a collectible. To me, it was like, ooh, I found a collectible, yay! I was excited. But the free running was so much fun that it was like, yeah, fun with the free running and the parkour and all that good stuff. But hey, I mean, like, I don't need it to come to Switch 2 because I could play it on the Steam Deck and run it at 60 FPS, and it's great. I just haven't really been motivated to go back to it. So maybe one of these days. I might even reinstall it sometime soon and jump back into it. And jump off of buildings and fall to my death millions of times because that happens a lot in that game for me. But anyway. Okay, I think that's everything on my end.
Good stuff.
All right, for our last story for the night, Xbox is releasing 2 unannounced cross-platform titles in 2026, and this is a report from Insider Gaming based on a LinkedIn job description. And let's just see what we got here. So this was spotted by The Gamer, and the confirmation about the upcoming cross-platform games comes from the LinkedIn profile of a senior game producer at Xbox Game Studios, Aisha Brown. In the experience section, Brown has stated that one of their key contributions including leading development pipelines for 2 unannounced cross-platform titles set for release in 2026. No other details were revealed. We have absolutely no idea what this could be. At least I don't have any ideas of what this could be. The story doesn't have any ideas of what it could be. But the fact that they would be games that haven't even been announced yet, I think is, well, I guess I'll get into my thoughts a bit more with that later, but all I will say is I don't have any reason to doubt that this is real. And based on what we've been seeing from Xbox, it would make perfect sense for this to be the case. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely more of sort of like what we were talking about earlier about more gamers have choices, and so the fact that these are cross-platform games means that people don't have to worry about just buying an Xbox or potentially a PC to play these games. Like if you're on PlayStation, or possibly if you're on the Switch too, and you want to buy these games, you could just stick with your platform of choice and just buy them there, which is great. And the fact these are cross-platform is just wonderful, since more people can actually play these games. Now, we don't know what these games are at this point, and I mean, which is going to make things interesting. I mean, I know that the article mentioned about just like theories about possibly like Gears of War E-Day and like possibly State of Decay 3. I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but I'm wondering what with the, I guess, rumor that was flowing around somewhat, although I don't know if this would be possible considering the fact that it's only a year out, would be the rumored Halo remake. Now, I also have heard possibly the fact that they could be, that the game could possibly not have, or it could just be campaign only. They might be disregarding multiplayer for it. That's just one thing I've heard. And if that's the case, it could possibly, in that case, be a 2026 release since they don't have to focus on the multiplayer aspect, which is kind of a bummer
Yeah.
since, you know, multiplayer was a core aspect of Halo. And I mean, it's always been a core aspect of Halo, but if it is just mainly a focus on the campaign, then that's definitely could come out in 2026, and I mean possibly later, depending on how long the game's been in development. But I could possibly see that as a game that is coming in. It's also multi-platform. However, well, I mean, technically it would be multi-platform, but I don't know. I feel like at some point I kind of would like to see the Master Chief Collection come to like PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, just because I think
Yeah,
that would be
for sure.
really great to have that collection ported over. And it would just be insane to like think about playing Halo on your PlayStation, or I mean, apart from the Steam Deck, playing Halo on a handheld device. That would
Yeah.
just be that would be very thrilling to think about. But I think that a campaign only Halo remake is possible. That could come out next year. Other than that, though, I'm not entirely certain what I think the other game could be, especially since it says it's an unannounced game, so it's like something we have no clue what it is. So I can really only guess. And while, well, I'll just throw this out there, partially because we mentioned this some time ago, and while it's highly unlikely considering the fact that there were some layoffs at this studio, but Banjo 3, that's just gonna be something I just spitball out there.
That's a good one. We should add to that the rare replay being announced at the well, I guess never mind. I'm sorry, I forgot the fact that we weren't talking about Nintendo Direct anymore. So, but Banjo 3 as a potential like new announcement or unannounced project, I could see that happening. But I'll just mention on that list for the Nintendo Direct, we can add the rare replay.
Yes,
Which I'm pretty sure has Kazooie and Tooie, right?
I think so.
I know it has Kazooie. Should have Tooie as well.
But yeah, those are the only games I could possibly think about that could be announced. But we'll just have to wait and see. And I mean, I think that maybe, I know that I think Microsoft has a showcase at Gamescom coming up, so
Yep.
I think that, considering the fact that the games are going to be coming out next year, whatever these unannounced games are, I think that's definitely where we'll see those games announced. So I think that's going to be, I think Gamescom is in what, September or October?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's one of those.
So it won't be too long before we hear something definitive, I would think.
Yep, probably. All right. Yeah, and I don't really have anything to add beyond what I've already added. I think it's great that there are more games that are going to be cross-platform. It's just better for gamers as a whole. And, I think ultimately it's going to benefit Microsoft as well, because they're going to make more money than they would just selling it on one platform. So, yeah, good stuff. All right. Well, I don't have any other stories to talk about tonight. Is there any other topics you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I don't think anything has popped up that I've noticed.
All right. Well, in that case, let's get into our recommendations and dissuasions. So why don't you start us off?
All right, so I've got a couple recommendations. The first one is going to be, recently, Sandfall has released a free bonus album for Expedition 33. You can go ahead and download it. It has, I think, 22 tracks. as part of the album, and they just shadow dropped it right off the bat. So I would say go ahead, download it. It doesn't have all of the missing music from the original soundtrack, but it does have a good number of ones that were missing, especially ones that people wanted. And additionally, there are pre-orders for the CD, and if you have a mind for it, the vinyl collection. So that is available for pre-order right now, and those collections do actually have all of the tracks. So even the ones that are missing are included there as well. But definitely, I would recommend, even if you don't get that, at least just get the bonus album, because there's still just more good Expedition 33 music, which is just phenomenal. And then my second recommendation is, if you have a older MacBook and it possibly could be acting slower, or if there's something wrong with the system memory, upgrade the RAM. Even if you think you can't do it for whatever reason. So actually, one of the things I actually did over this weekend was upgrade the RAM for my MacBook, and I thought it wasn't possible because Apple said that you could only have up to 8 gigs of RAM, and it could only be, you can only have 8 gigs of RAM total, and which was a bummer because that's all I really had in there, and it was Pro Tools was just getting maxed out, and then I was just looking online wondering, am I really just limited to that much? And so people are saying you can actually give more RAM to people are actually using, I think, like 32 gigs of RAM in there, and so I went ahead, got 2 8-gig sticks, put it in there, and it's performing much better. So rather than worry about spending more money on a new MacBook, which could be more expensive depending on what you're getting, just get some cheaper RAM, put it in there, and good to go. Unfortunately, after a certain period, Apple stopped allowing you to upgrade your stuff and had just everything hardwired in there. But if you're able to do that, take advantage of that, save some money, and get some possibly better performance. So those are my recommendations.
Yep. PC gamer versus console person. That's the difference in mentality there. Oh, I'll just buy a brand new computer instead of, adding to this one. But, yep. All right, good stuff. Well, I have 2 recommendations. First of all, I have to recommend, especially if you enjoyed the original Happy Gilmore movie, check out Happy Gilmore 2 on Netflix. It is phenomenal. It is so good, so well done. It doesn't have any like weird modern politics or anything. It's very much, it feels like an actual sequel in every sense, every good sense from the original movie. So definitely worth checking out. Even if you don't want to have a long-term Netflix subscription, which we don't plan to. Basically, we're just going to keep it for the 1 month and then cancel it. But yeah, it's a great movie. I just hope at some point they do a physical version, which with Netflix, it's kind of a back and forth on whether they actually do that, but I'm hoping that maybe it'll just be like a timed Netflix exclusive, and then it will eventually go on disc as well. Because, some movies have done that, like the third Cloverfield movie was originally on Netflix only, and then it ended up getting a Blu-ray and stuff, but physical media is honestly dying, so we'll kind of see what happens on that front. But yeah, my second recommendation, I guess kind of split this up into like more of a general one and then a specific one. So the general is Whataburger. If you have access to Whataburger, I finally got a chance to try it, and it was very, very good. Some of the best fast food burgers I've had. The only thing better than that so far that I've had is In-N-Out. But In-N-Out has been West Coast. It's moving to Tennessee. They're moving their headquarters to Tennessee, so theoretically it could start spreading more in the Midwest and the East Coast, but I'm not getting my hopes up too much. Either way, Whataburger is delicious. Fantastic burgers. but more specifically from Whataburger. Um, their breakfast meal, well, I should also mention, they are open 24 hours, which is great. But their breakfast, which they do from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m., they have sausage biscuits, which is nothing all that out of the ordinary, but you can order it with a jalapeno cheddar biscuit instead of just a regular biscuit. And that's a really, really good. Really, really good. Like, I may have had to have it a couple days in a row because but yeah, really good stuff. So yeah, that's what I have for recommendations. So, all right, your dissuasions.
My dissuasion, it's kind of a general piece of advice, but I guess in a sense a dissuasion, and that is if you use OpenRGB for the devices on your computer, do not waste your time by trying to use a profile or an already established profile for all your devices. That's something that I sort of learned the hard way yesterday with trying to figure out why I couldn't get my friend's mouse to work properly, and that's just because the profile I was loading is essentially only tied to the motherboard and all the devices connected to the motherboard. So the case fans and the CPU fan, whereas I had to create a separate profile for the mouse specifically. So don't waste your time with trying to figure out why can't I load this profile when I've already loaded it for the motherboard, when it's just you have to create a whole new separate profile. And I guess technically as a pseudo recommendation then is when you create your profiles, also add the name of the peripheral or device specifically. So say whatever color profile case, whatever color profile keyboard and mouse, and etc. So that way you know specifically what it is you're trying to change the colors for. But yeah, that's my dissuasion / pseudo recommendation.
All right, good to know. I guess I would say don't get your hopes up too much with the Nintendo Direct, and don't buy game key cards. I know that no one's going to take my advice on that front, and I mean, I'm a little excited about the Nintendo Direct, even though I probably wouldn't buy the majority of the games, but it's just I should take my own advice. I mean, for me, it's not a big deal because it's not like there's anything that they could announce on the Nintendo Direct that would be something I couldn't play already on PC. Since they're not covering first party stuff. But still, it's just it's fun seeing great games come over to more platforms, and Nintendo gamers have an opportunity to play some of those great games that we've already been able to play on PC and other consoles. So regardless, don't get your hopes up too much. And if you vote with your wallet on those game key cards, maybe Nintendo will actually realize that they need to come up with a better option for more people, more developers, so that people will start buying the physical games again. Because they would probably sell a lot better if they weren't doing that. Well, that and not charging $80 for a physical game. But anyway, that's what I got.
Very, very timeless advice is don't get your hopes up.
All right, where can people find you?
They can find me on my channel. I am Xeracon. That's IAMXERACON. So youtube.com/@IamXeracon. Nothing new this past week. Of course, apart from the GPU comparison. I'm still not certain what the next thing I will put up will be. However, there is a small project that I'm working on that I'll probably put up within the coming weeks. It's just something that I have to finish working on, and we'll definitely I'll definitely provide more information later on. But yeah, that's everything that I have on that end.
Sounds good. All right, well, you can find me on my YouTube gaming channel at the Frozen Gamer 87. There's nothing new up yet. I have not yet recorded the main video. That's going to be my next big one, but it is hopefully going to get done this weekend. I'm not promising anything, but it's more than anything, I just need to sit down and start recording, because I have some basic notes. I've been kind of refining things a little bit in my head, but I just need to sit down and record. So that's the goal, is to hopefully get that at least recorded, and then I can do any necessary editing beyond that. But look forward to that. That'll be a video covering why I love PC gaming. So that is the next planned thing. And of course, if we end up finding out that there's a bunch of big third-party games that will be really good comparisons to do, I'm probably just going to have to buckle down and start working on those again. It's a lot of work. And so, yeah, need plenty of time to work on those. So anyway, then there is the YouTube channel for the podcast, which is also on Rumble. On YouTube, it's at the Orange Box Podcast. On Rumble, it's not a custom URL, but you can find it just looking for the Orange Box Podcast. The video version of the podcast goes live every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time, barring any technical issues. And that is both on YouTube and Rumble that it goes live at that time. Then there's also the audio-only version of the podcast, which goes live on every major podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and some others that I don't remember off the top of my head. But you can very easily find that, and that goes live at 12 a.m. Central Time every Friday. Once again, barring any technical issues. And then I also have my YouTube cooking channel, Not Authentic But Delicious. That's YouTube at NABD Cooking. And nothing new yet. There's around 40 recipes on the channel, and I do have more planned. It's just a matter of getting them recorded. Hoping in time to take a day to just get all of my old recipes downloaded from YouTube and then uploaded to Rumble as well. It's an undertaking that I haven't taken the time to do yet. So we'll see when that happens. But we'll get to it one way or another. And I think that's everything. All right. Last chance. Any final thoughts?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I am the Frozen Gamer 87. That is I Am Zeracon. We are the Orange Box Podcast. And until next time, be the PlayStation exclusive you want to see on Xbox. Orange Box Podcast, out.